Stretch out the dreams from my mind. Granny's got the scoop, let's unwind. Birds are chirping, singing their tune. Mystery of the day coming soon. Cup of tea and a buttered scone. Start the day, we're never alone. Good morning, rise and shine. Granny's here with stories so fine. Good morning, off we go to greet the world with a happy glow.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing wonderful this fine morning. Grab your coffee, your tea, your juice, your espresso, cappuccino, whatever it is that you drink in the morning. We are going to get right down to it. This morning's topic is going to be a little bit longer than we normally have, but I felt like it was important because I haven't talked about it before. It is about the case of Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Steins, who took the life of Judge Kevin Mullins. This case ends up being about, a sex scandal. Very, very odd case. These two were good friends. They had even just gone to lunch together hours before this happened. Before Sheriff Steins walked into the judge's chambers and decided to pull the trigger. Just very, very odd. I'm sure in the trial we're going to find out what happened leading up to this, right? There had to have been something that Sheriff Steins found out about or something, right? They say that it was about his wife and daughter. And I will say this, he was acting very odd after the event. But what he's going to try to do now, he's using an insanity defense. So let's go ahead. We're going to listen to Law and Crime's video, part of it, to see what went on here, right? What happened? Make sure you guys can see it good. All right.
Mickey Steins claiming he was insane when he shot and killed a judge in his chambers. I look at what this means with his lawyers and trace Steins' steps in the hours before he killed his longtime friend. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. When Mickey Steins shot and killed Judge Kevin Mullins in his chambers, it was absolutely unbelievable. This was the top cop in Letcher County, Kentucky, firing a gun at a sitting judge in his chambers, and it was all recorded by a surveillance camera. And so was much of Steins's and Mullins' day before the shooting, which I'm going to show you here in just a bit. Not only was Kevin Mullins a judge, he was Mickey Steins's one-time boss and longtime friend, but it seemed like something changed in a matter of minutes, maybe even seconds. The sheriff may have snapped. At least that's what the latest filing from his lawyers would suggest. Steins is charged with murdering Kevin Mullins. His lawyer, Jeremy Bartley, filed a notice stating, defendant intends to present expert evidence relating to a mental disease or defect or mental condition bearing on the issue of guilt and punishment. Defendant intends to present a defense of insanity as well as a defense of extreme emotional disturbance.
Isn't that interesting, guys? You have a sheriff planning to use the insanity defense. of all people, wouldn't we hope that our sheriffs are not insane? Because, guys, I'm just going to be really upfront with you. I don't like when the insanity defense is used in the case of a deliberate red rum. Okay? And we're going to see the video of what happened in that chamber. You tell me if you think it's deliberate or not. Right? The insanity defense is for I can only think of one right now, and I'm just not going to go there. But it, postpartum depression kind of thing. And then, having been diagnosed, there's, record of, you know, mental health psychosis going on, right? But this, I don't know. I'm going to keep an open mind, but I do have to say that I think that the insanity defense is used too often for cases that it shouldn't be used. And I have to wonder, okay? I just have to wonder. Keeping an open mind, though.
On top of this, Stines' lawyers are telling the court that they want their expert to be present when a state expert evaluates him. Stines' attorney, Jeremy Bartley, is going to be here shortly to explain all of this. This shooting happened last September 19th, and we're getting a look at Stines before he pulled the trigger through surveillance cameras in and around the courthouse. That day seemed like any other in Letcher County. Judge Kevin Mullins was in his chambers around noon. Mickey Stines was sitting across from him in a chair, and there was a man to his left, and another man, a pastor, stood to Mullins' side. There's no audio, so we don't know what the men were discussing, but Mullins, at least, seemed relaxed. He was even smoking in his chambers. The group sat for several minutes, chatting away. It's probably something they had done many, many times over the years. Around 12:07 p.m., Stines walked out of the judge's chambers. Mullins says something and he stops, but then he keeps walking. Again, we don't know what was said, but the people in the room certainly know. From outside, you can see Mickey Stines walking away from the courthouse. It's 12:11 p.m. at this point. Another camera shows Stines walking back into the courthouse for just a moment. Then he turns around and walks back out. Mullins and Stines had lunch at a local restaurant. It was something they did often. They ordered the same thing they always did, and by all accounts, there was no tension at this lunch. By 1:16 p.m., Mickey Stines is walking back to the courthouse from lunch. If only we knew what he was thinking on that walk. By 1:30, Judge Mullins was back in his chambers, talking with some people for a little bit. Eventually, he's back on the bench. Judge Mullins presided over cases from about 1:45 to 2:35 that afternoon. Then around 3 p.m. that day, Mullins was in his chambers with Stines. What the men were discussing remains a mystery. Stines made a phone call first from his phone and then Judge Mullins' phone, and then Stines fired several shots at the man he once called a friend. You can see people in Mullins' chambers rush out after hearing the shots. They likely had no idea what was happening other than a gun had been fired. Troopers' dash cameras showed Stines being led to a cruiser in handcuffs after 4 p.m. that day, and Stines sounded paranoid.
You may pick your leg up, my brother?
Y'all got carbon monoxide in here. Oh. Come on now. Come on. I can't sit like this. I can't. Come on now. Be fair to me.
We're being good to you, brother. You stick your leg up in there.
Come on now, guys. Please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. Please.
You want to scoot on over a little bit to the left?
Come on now.
Try to scoot on over a little bit more. That way we don't hit you. Can you go any bit farther? I just don't hit you with the door. Put your knee in there, my friend.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Bates. Hey, Bates. Can we loosen this up a little or give the window down?
I'm sorry.
Can we loosen this up a little? Be fair to me, man.
I got some air. I'll crack the window for you, but I can turn the air on back here. Okay?
Yeah. Be fair to me
I
now.
promise, Mickey. I promise.
God, please.
I promise. I'll tell you.
It's hot back here, man. I can't breathe.
During the nearly hour drive to the Leslie County Jail, troopers tried to get Stines to talk to them.
Okay, Mickey. Anyway, so do you want to talk about it? Is this to do with anything with your family, your daughter, or anything?
Bring it on in.
The world can be really unpredictable and scary, so having a great lawyer really matters, and that's where Morgan & Morgan comes in. The firm has more than 1,000 lawyers, and that's because Stines had been deposed days before the shooting in a civil suit filed by a woman named Sabrina Atkins. She had been arrested in 2021 on a drug charge, and a deputy named Ben Fields told her he'd help her with an ankle bracelet for home incarceration in exchange for sex. Atkins said she and Fields had sex in Judge Mullins' chambers 6 times, and she told investigators with the Kentucky Attorney General's office it wasn't just Fields having sex in the judge's office.
But he does have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers,
What kind of stuff?
just with girls sexual and stuff.
What describe? Have you seen the videos?
I've seen one partly, and just him having sex with girls for to be able to get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Ben and just some higher ups up there.
Who?
The judge and.
Now you saw the video.
Yeah.
What did you see on the video? I mean, you.
I mean, I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was the girl?
I don't know, because I don't know a lot of people from over there.
Where was it at?
In his office, in the judge's chambers.
Is that the same place that you were meeting Ben? Is that how you know it was the judge in chambers? And this was Judge who?
Mullins.
But you don't know who the girl was.
So Sabrina Atkins had told investigators she saw a video of Judge Mullins having sex with a girl in his chambers. Last fall, Kentucky State Police investigator Clayton Stamper testified at a preliminary hearing for Mickey Stines that Stines was concerned for his wife and daughter after the shooting.
He was mostly calm, I thought. I mean, I talked to him, but he didn't say nothing about why this had happened. But he was calm. He was kind of afraid that basically all he said was, treat me fair. That's basically the comments he made.
Okay. Did he also make a statement about, I didn't see it in the citation, you're somewhere along the line, I saw a statement being attributed to him about protecting his family?
I wasn't present, but when he was taken into custody, I was told by one of the other officers that were there that he made the comment, they're trying to kidnap my wife and kid.
So something is definitely going on in Letcher County, Kentucky. It's a small town with a lot of big secrets. I want to bring in Jeremy Bartley. He represents Mickey Stines in this case. So Jeremy, we kind of anticipated this. So tell me what you filed. You guys are going to claim that at the time that Mickey Stines shot Judge Mullins, which is not in question, it's on video, that he was insane.
Well, the statutes require that if we intend to introduce mental health as a defense, whether in whole or in part, that we file notice. And normally this is something we would do later in the proceedings. As you know, we don't even have a trial date yet. But, our hope is to expedite. The state will get their opportunity to have our client examined. So we want to expedite those proceedings. I mean, you're looking at an 18-month or more backlog to get folks examined at the state facility. So normally we would wait much later, but we went ahead and filed that notice in the hopes to get that moving along.
You said specifically in your filing that you're not saying he's not competent. That's not the question here. And you had said that in an earlier hearing as well. This is specifically, you want him examined. You want your expert to be a part of it when the state does examine him. But you're saying basically, look, there was something going on with Mickey Stines when this happened. And that's why he stood there and just matter of factly pulled out his gun and shot Judge Mullins. So do you have any idea, given the fact that you're saying he's not incompetent, do you have any idea about what may have been going on? We know about the deposition in the lawsuit regarding the sex with the inmates in the courthouse. What else have you been able to glean, if anything, that you can share with us?
Well, so in terms of what the specific mechanism or diagnosis is at the time, I'm going to defer questions on that. But I will say this. There was no doubt to anyone that was around Mickey in the days following the deposition, prior to the deposition, and certainly after the deposition and the days leading up to what you saw in the video, that he had not slept. Rarely, if any, had not slept in days. That his demeanor was completely off. People described him as paranoid and just not acting in accordance with his normal demeanor. Now, again, I don't want to get into specifics. The statute requires that there be a mental disease or illness or defect. I'm not going to get into that now. I'll wait until we hear more from the experts. But I'll just say this: there's zero doubt that the combination of his mental health, which was exacerbated by the pressure put on him because of this deposition, played a role in what we saw. And within that mental health defense, you really have two things. One, which I've said from the beginning for the preliminary hearing, we think sets the ceiling for the Commonwealth, is extreme emotional disturbance, right? Because that's a partial defense. And that goes to, at the moment he acted, did his emotions become so enraged, disturbed, or inflamed that he acted almost, basically out of control? I think it's evident that something happened within those chambers, and we'll get into more of that as the case progresses. But there was a moment at which his emotions, in a worst case for our client, it's extreme emotional disturbance, which would get us to manslaughter. But we believe that there's more, and we believe that that we will put on evidence that he was unable to conform his conduct based upon some mental health issues that were going on during that week.
So you touched on this, and I know we've talked about this before as well, that he felt an imminent threat. You said something happened in those chambers. We've obtained video that shows Mickey Stines. We've kind of retraced his steps that whole day, walking away from the courthouse, walking to lunch, walking back in. Judge Mullins is on his bench. We see that. And then whatever happens. I mean, there's no audio, unfortunately. We don't know what was stated. Have you been able to learn what was stated? You said we'll get into that at trial, but do you know what Judge has Mickey Stines told you what Judge Mullins said that made him feel threatened?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to get into what my client has told me. I will tell you that when Mickey entered the judge's chambers, he had there was no doubt in his mind that his wife and his daughter had been threatened. And based upon what transpired in those chambers, he believed that threat was in motion
And immediate.
And so,
I'm assuming, because you had said
yes,
we're an imminent threat.
yeah, he felt that his wife and daughter had been taken. And, I think that, there's a lot out there that touches on what was actually going on behind the scenes. We look at the Benfield's deposition, the deputy that was convicted of having coercive sex with someone who was on probation and or on an ankle monitor. at the time in the judge's chambers. We've got a video. I mean, if we take a step back here, we're talking about a live feed in the judge's office. That's unheard of. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but I can speak for Kentucky. I've been in a lot of judges' chambers. I've seen a lot of cameras, but I've never seen one that was a live feed, basically a security camera. My understanding, that camera went up after this prosecution of Ben Fields in the civil suit. So we know in those chambers there was things going on that shouldn't have been going on. And we believe that there were folks that didn't want it being told in this deposition what was going on in there before they put cameras up. And I believe that there is a history that would show us that there is a reasonable belief that that he was in danger, his family was in danger, depending on what he said in this deposition. Now, again, we think that was exacerbated by his mental health, or conversely, these threats impacted his mental health. But the bottom line is that Mickey felt that there was a threat to his wife and daughter and that it was imminent.
We know that Sabrina Atkins had told the Attorney General's office in Kentucky sometime before this that she was aware of a videotape of Judge Mullins having sex with somebody.
I've read that, yes, and I heard it.
I mean, we have the audio of her being interviewed by investigators. Sure. So have you, through your investigation of this case, been able to uncover any more information about that?
Yes, but I'm not going to comment on what that is. I'm not here. This is not the time and place. I've been very deliberate in not disparaging the judge. I'm not going to do that at this point. I will say though that we're pretty confident that there were matters that could have been revealed in the deposition that people didn't want told.
Sure. And obviously, we don't want to disparage Judge Mullins, but this is a key question in the case, and what Mickey Steins knew and when and what have you. So you filed the notice. He's going to plead insanity. What happens next? I know he has to be evaluated. So what's next? You said there's a backlog of 18 months for him to be evaluated by the state. So where do we go from here?
Yeah. So I'll take a step back. So the notice says that we may rely on that defense. We've given notice that we very well may introduce insanity as a defense, and I think that we very well may. But what you have to understand is in putting on this particular defense, it's going to be vital to know what was going on around Mickey to understand why it was reasonable or unreasonable to believe that his family was threatened. And so, there's a lot more to this than, to say that we're going to rely on the insanity defense, yes. But, along with telling the story of his mental health, there's a lot of surrounding story that's inextricably intertwined with it that we'll have to tell and as part of his defense. But in terms of procedurally, we've given notice and we believe that if the state, they've not responded saying they want to have him examined in writing. It's my understanding they do. They will, I'm sure. But once they do that and the judge orders him to be evaluated, then at that point, it's up to the state facility and their experts as to when they conduct the testing that they see fit. And as I've said in my filing, I think the statute's pretty clear that our expert gets to participate.
Jeremy Bartley, as always, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming back on.
And Jeanette, it's always good talking with you. Thanks for having me on. And hopefully we'll talk more as this case goes along.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, there you have it. So, what are your thoughts? I have to say, my mind is still open. I try to put myself in the position of thinking that someone was going to harm my family and that it was happening pretty quickly or was in progress, something like that. I think that's kind of what they were saying. I don't know that it would make me want to pull a trigger, but I guess you have to think about. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So my mind is still open to this plea for him. I can't imagine what he was thinking about at that point in time. I would imagine that they put his wife and daughter in some kind of surveillance or something to make sure that they were okay. I would hope so. But I find this case fascinating because he actually was seen on camera walking in there and pulling the trigger. So the other things that you hear about that happened in that judge's chambers are disturbing. So here we have another small town corruption case. This is just disturbing. 100% disturbing. It'll be interesting what goes on with this trial, right? So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Please be sure to hit the like button on your way out. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so that you can be assured of when we go online live. And that's usually about 5 o'clock every night. So thank you guys so much. We hope to see you. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at grannyscrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.